So I got a few articles I wanted to look at here. We have one here talking about Bitcoin data not protected by the Fourth Amendment, according to an appeals court ruling. We've got the Lebanese lira that has collapsed, and we have a Bitcoin metric that has suggested that Bitcoin may have bottomed. So we'll take a look at those things and the price of Bitcoin in this video. So this article here from Decrypt is stating how I think it was the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in a ruling basically said that, I mean, the title here says it all. I'm not even going to go through the article. That Bitcoin data is not protected by the Fourth Amendment, which protects you from unreasonable search and seizure in the United States, according to this court. So data gathered from the Bitcoin blockchain, your account balance, seizure of your Bitcoin, none of that is protected by the Fourth Amendment. This is what their ruling says. Now, I did a video just recently on Haven or Haven Protocol, and this was one of the reasons that I was suggesting that this is going to be such a powerful coin and that this will do well, and really all privacy coins in general. And this is part of the reason, is because you have things like this going on. Now they have the ability, according to a court ruling, to not only look at all your stuff, but it's not protected. They can take it, they can do whatever they want, you know, assuming they can get you in a courtroom and get you to comply and bow down and get all scared and you know, relinquish your private keys and all that kind of stuff. This just adds to the case for privacy coins, in my opinion. We don't need a big brother or some sort of government agency or a court, a panel of judges or one judge to decide whether or not we're allowed to keep our privacy, whether or not we're allowed to keep our wealth and the money that we worked for. We don't need all that, right? This is one of the key foundational reasons that cryptocurrency was created in the first place. This is why Bitcoin was created, was to give people the ability to get some control back over the financial situation or their own finances, because it's been so heavily abused by the central banks and the politicians and all that kind of stuff. And so now we've got, you know, just more fuel to add to the fire in the case to promote privacy coins, in my opinion. Like, it's only going to get worse from here. So essentially what this says to me is, by holding Bitcoin or any other coin that's not I mean, we already know that anybody can look at your wallet and see your balance. They have analytics software now that can trace it back to your identity in all but the most extreme cases where you've managed to get set up and never leaked any of your personal information. So we know that all this information is public. I mean, it hasn't been a problem up till now for most people, but remember that we're in the early stages of the game. What happens in a couple years from now when, you know, the authorities decide to get more aggressive with the crackdown on the cryptocurrencies and people who are using them, and, you know, taking them away because they don't want the peasants to have any kind of wealth? Then we can't have that. Then you're going to have problems, you know. So while I am a big fan of Bitcoin and a lot of some other coins out there, there's a huge market, I think, for privacy coins and the ability to take some of your money and put that into, you know, a privacy coin where it can be yours and nobody else has access to that data. And then the problem with that is, if you do that with something like Monero, I mean, now you're at the whims of the market. So you put your money in there at $500 and price drops down to $50 and you just lost 90% of your wealth, you know. And so that's not, most people won't be interested in doing that. And that's where Haven comes in. So now you've got the ability to have a fully private coin, but yet you can still swap into other assets that are pegged to things like the dollar or Bitcoin or some other fiat currency that they have in here, and still maintain that privacy. And you can do that right within your own wallet, and you don't have to go through an exchange. And you can now hold your wealth and have it, you know, pegged to a dollar or the fiat value of currency of your choice, to maintain that value in case Haven were to go down. You can peg it to gold if you think gold is going up. Whatever, you know, asset that they have, you can use, and still maintain your privacy. And that is absolutely a game changer in what we'll be able to do in the future moving forward. I mean, what can they really do? There's not much they can do. I mean, they can yell and scream and make threats all day long, but they can't really do much in this situation. Maybe that'll change in the future. We'll have to see. You know, they're always trying to work on ways around this kind of stuff, but as of right now, there's nothing they can do. So this is an opportunity for, you know, the average person to have that sort of privacy and anonymity. You know, up till now, it's the wealthy people have had that. They've got their Swiss bank accounts and they've had those for ages, right? And I think it's amazing how they cracked down on them finally. And they said, hey, you can't do this anymore. This is highly illegal. And they said, oh, okay, so, you know, what do we got to do? And they slapped them with a fine, and that's it. Everything just went back to business as usual. All the people still have their money in there, all these billionaires, and they're all completely anonymous and shielded, and their money's protected, and they're avoiding taxes and with, you know, with all this money and all this kind of stuff. All they just got a little slap on the wrist, and that's it. This is our opportunity to have, you know, this same level of privacy and anonymity as somebody who's not one of the global elites. So I think that's a huge factor for this coin. The other aspect to this mirrors the other aspect of cryptocurrency in general, which is the speculation or the opportunity right now to be able to get involved in something that can potentially provide you with a huge profit. I talked about Haven the other day. Right now, they are rank 166 here on Coin Paprika. We've got a $30 million roughly market cap. What is in store for this coin in the future? Well, I mean, I see no reason that they couldn't go up 10 times from here conservatively. You have a $300 million market cap. I mean, if you think about that, is it that unrealistic for a coin that offers as much as this does to go up and be in the top 50? We have right here 300 million Kyber network, that's number 35. Is it really hard to imagine that Haven could be within the top 35, 40 coins? I think that's completely doable. And if it does, then you're essentially looking at 1,000% gains right from this point. You're looking at a $23 coin. You know, so I think there's huge potential. Currently, if we look at the daily chart on Haven, we've been consolidating sideways in this area right here. We've probably got the range traders selling up here at 250, 245 to 255, buying back at 210 to 215, and just taking this profit all day long. Meanwhile, we've probably got a lot of people who have, this has just shown up on their radar because of what's been taking place here, and they're starting to accumulate in this area. And this is exactly what I want to see. I don't want to see it make a big gain like this and then just sell right off. If it does that, I know it's just a pump and dump and that there's no interest in the coin. If we make big gains like this and then more big gains like this, gains stacked on top of gains, and then we proceed to consolidate, you know, for an extended period of time, this is a gold mine setup right here. You know, so this could easily go up to whatever it wants to go up to, whatever the market can support right now. And like I said, I think being in the top 50 is very reasonable for a coin as strong as this. So could it be a $20 coin at some point in the near future? I think it could. You know, of course it could drop through this floor, you know, and come down a ways. I mean, anything is possible. But I tend to lean towards it breaking out to the upside here. So the next article that caught my eye here says the Lebanese lira collapses. It's now worth 1 Satoshi. And in this article, they give you the equivalent here. 1 Satoshi is worth $0.0001. So it's basically worth next to nothing. It says here the country's worst economic crisis in modern history now prompts fears of famine. Under this stock photo here, it says Lebanese banks are imposing strict capital controls to deal with its economic crisis. Well, guess where this is going next? You know, eventually this is going to make its way to every single fiat currency on this planet. None of them have ever survived long term. It's coming to all of them. Even the first world countries, even the dollar, even the euro, even the yen, it's just a matter of time. This is the main argument for cryptocurrency. It's the ability to get out of the corrupt fiat system where they're just endlessly printing money and devaluing it to the point where it gets down here to where it's worth next to nothing. Right? This is what governments do. This is what central banks do with fiat dollars or liras or yen or whatever the hell name they want to give them. It's all the same shit. That's what it is. It's shit. It's worthless shit. you may as well just use it to wipe your ass with, right? Because it's not backed by gold anymore. It's not backed by anything but them basically saying that it's worth something. Now, I mean, are we really going to trust people who are that corrupt, in their word? Can we do that? And the answer is, of course not. So as individuals who we're kind of hip to what's going on here, we realize this. Cryptocurrencies give us the chance to, start to get out of this system into a system of sound money where it's not just going to be printed to infinity and basically devalue, or they're basically stealing from us by devaluing the dollar is what they're doing. They're basically stealing the wealth of governments are stealing wealth of their population through the inflation and the devaluing of their country's currency. So this is going to make its way around the world. Now you've got capital controls, so you've got the banks basically saying, hey, I'm sorry, but you can't come in and take your money out anymore because we screwed up, and now the currency, we're having this crisis here, and so you can't have access to your money. We just imposed this new law. It's just, we're going to call it a capital control. It's not actually a law, but you can't have your money. We're not even going to unlock the doors for you to come in and take it. We're turning the ATM machines off. It's very important. We want to protect the government and the economy, and if we don't do this, everything's going to collapse and it's going to be a complete nightmare, and you're going to be living on the street with your family, and you don't want that, do you? Right? So they get everybody scared, and to try to keep them from rioting too much in the streets, like we saw in Greece when they kind of did the same thing. This is the game that they play over and over and over. So this is why, and hopefully that anybody is watching a video like this, they already know this, but there are a lot of people out there who haven't figured this out yet. And so it's important that these people start to understand why anybody in their right mind would want to keep any portion of their money in fiat currency is beyond me, unless you have a way to transfer that into other assets quickly, right? So if you're paying attention to what's going on in the markets worldwide, so if you see something start to get shaky, you can just transfer out, put it somewhere else, whatever your asset is of choice that you like, but you're able to go into that. Otherwise, why on earth would you do that when you've got this kind of stuff taking place? And this is not going to stop anytime soon. Now, this article I thought was interesting too. It says that there's kind of just a obscure little metric here that shows that Bitcoin had bottomed. The last time this occurred, Bitcoin bottomed at 3,200. So what was it? It's not really. It's kind of a technical indicator of sorts, but it's really more of a fundamental. So it's, it could be looked at either way. So essentially what happened is they're looking at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust and how their premiums go up and down based on the price and demand of Bitcoin, obviously. So essentially when their premiums are really high, that's when the demand for Bitcoin is really high. When their premiums go really low, that's when the demand for Bitcoin is low. And the same thing corresponds with the price. When the premiums are high, it's because the price is going way up. And when they're really, really low, that's when price, the last time this happened is when price bottomed. So they're looking at and saying, hey, the premiums that the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust charges, is somewhat of an indicator of where the Bitcoin might be as far as in its market price. So, according to them, the last time that the premiums were this low, Bitcoin was at $3,200. It kind of makes sense, when you just stop and think about it. Obviously, when something's in demand, you charge a higher premium. When it's not, you have to charge a lower premium. But because of Grayscale being such a prominent player in the Bitcoin industry, or the cryptocurrencies in general, they look at this as potentially this could be a reliable indicator. So if we go and take a look at the Bitcoin chart to see if that makes sense or not, this is a daily chart here, and I've got a big triangle drawn on my chart, and let me stretch this out. So this was our high back in late 2017, early 2018. This was the low back in December of 2018. This was the peak up here in June of 2019, and then we've got another low down here just recently in March. And so with these 3 points, I can draw a triangle, and really the price has kind of respected this top level here, this upper trend line of the triangle. And it's not really, we could still fall down back and kind of complete filling out this triangle, but I kind of tend to lean towards a breakout to the upside here because we're starting to consolidate a little bit here, and we haven't really, it just seems like every time we start to drop down to 8,500 in that range, the price gets bought back up pretty quickly. Like, I don't see the market allowing the price to go much lower. There's too much demand for it down here right now. There would have to be a really, really negative bit of news come out, I think, to really shake the market up and allow this to kind of collapse down and start coming down here towards the bottom of this triangle. That's my opinion on that as far as how this would play out. Of course, the weekly chart looks like an even stronger argument for that. And really, I mean, if you look at the monthly chart too, I mean, it just looks like it wants to go north here. That doesn't mean I think that 100% it will. That's just a bias. If I had to choose one or the other, that's what I would say. If not, then that's great because it comes down here. If it comes back down here to try and test, you know, the $5,800 or $6,000 level again, that's fantastic because then you get an opportunity to buy it, you know, at a lower price. So either way it goes, we win, right? Because we know it's not going to come down here and crash through 6,000 and come back to zero. I mean, that's not going to happen. So it either exits this triangle and we go up here and retest 14,000, or, you know, give it a month or two and it decides to trickle back down to the $6,000 range, and then we get a chance to get more cheap. My personal system that I use to trade Bitcoin would have me going long right now, and that would be a recent signal, and that doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it could easily just change again. It's not like it's a set in stone just because you get a signal to enter that the price is going to go a certain way. It's a probabilities game, so the probabilities are a little bit higher that if you get an entry signal, you tend to go in that direction, but it's not a guarantee. If I put the Bollinger Bands on the charts, this is pretty strong. I mean, we're up in this upper range of the Bollinger Bands, and we've held up there pretty good. Same on the weekly chart, and so that's why I just tend to believe that there's a higher probability that we break out to the upside. So we'll have to wait and see how this goes. For the most part, I don't think it should matter to anybody who's interested in Bitcoin. I mean, like I said, if it goes up, you're winning because you're making money. If it goes down, you're winning because you have your chance to accumulate more at a lower price. So either way is fine, is how I look at it. But it's always fun to try to look at this and see if you can guess what's going to happen and when. And right now it's just very unclear. We're in this little consolidation zone. And we're just either waiting for this breakout right here, or we're going to finally make a strong bounce off of this and we're going to break out below 8,500 and go down. So right now we're in a neutral territory and there's no way to know for sure. We just have to wait and see what data is going to come out to move the markets finally in one direction or another. Is it going to be some really, really bad news or some really, really good news, and that's going to prompt people to start trading heavily one way or the other? And you know, we have kind of gotten some bad news already recently, and we still haven't been able to go below 8,500 or 8,600, and that's part of the reason I think that we might just break to the upside, because if you get people coming out saying, oh, hey, China banned Bitcoin again and all this kind of stuff, and we don't go below 8,600 in a range like this, I mean, I think that's a pretty strong level of support there. So we'll have to stay tuned and see what happens. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.